Hi, I'm Bev Hill, and I'm the current president of the Dexter Area Historical Society, and I welcome you to the Dexter Museum. Welcome.
This is Dr. Wiley's case. His family donated things from his office, and his picture is right up here, Dr. Wiley. He was a very important person in our community, and I remember a doctor coming when I had the measles, and he would sit by the bed and tell my mama I had the measles. I remember her drawing the shades and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, he would have a little pouch like this is his pouch too. That would have some medicine in it, and of course there was no penicillin or tetracycline or anything like that. He would give your mom whatever he thought might make you well, and of course sometimes it did and sometimes it did not. Let me see, this buggy is a doctor's buggy, and he would come to your house and go on inside the house and sit beside your bed. And then he would go on his merry way. So all these other things are from his office, and all these different things, a lot of stuff. I'm amazed that we have this much. But anyway, we do, and that's kind of nice. And the kids, they will recognize that word Wiley. We have a school named the Wiley School, named after him because he was so important to our community. Then we have Dr. Wall, who was the dentist in town. And all of these things are from his office downtown. Now, they tell me that these when they finally had an office, his office was downtown where the clock is now, someplace down there. So, and I don't know the significance about these instruments at all, but I guess they're from his family because that's what it says. So all of these things are from his office, utensils, and kids are always talking about the teeth. Yes, they are real teeth. So, so these utensils, and we talk a little bit about, would you really want some of these utensils to go in your mouth? What do you think? No, we talk about, if we have enough time, we talk about that. And then this is a chair from his office. Oh, and by the way, these stained glass windows, they're from the 1915s. And when they moved, do you know that this used to be across the street? This beautiful old church used to be across the street where the new church is now. And when they moved it, which was in the 1974s, I guess, not a window got broken. They're from the 1915s, and they don't make them like this anymore. And people went together as a family, and the family names are at the bottom, and they're in German, because at that time this was a German settlement, and there was even a German school here. Anyway, this was Dr. Wall's chair, and I have a friend whose dad grew up here, and he used to come see Dr. Wall, and he would sit in that chair. It's kind of interesting. Now, of course, no electricity, nothing to punch. Now, how would he make this drill work? Of course, they didn't do like what they do now. Back then, if your tooth was very bad, they just would pull it out. And you had no medicine to take the pain away. You just have to be a strong kid. So anyway, how do you think he got this drill to work? Well, we talk about that. There are no buttons to push. There's no electricity. So around the corner there is a pedal. They moved it so it's so much harder to see, but there's a pedal down there that he would have to press up and down to make this drill work. But remember, there was nothing to take away the pain, and there was no electricity. Then we have the switchboard, and we used to have a secretary that worked at Cornerstone School that she used to work the switchboard when she was in high school. She would come when we were doing a tour, and she would tell the kids all kinds of stuff about the switchboard. And we would tie it in with that telephone that was up front, okay? And then she would know exactly what to press, how one of the things leads us up, and there are all kinds of names. Oh, here's Whitmore Lake, and all kinds of stuff. Willis. And then if you would lift up that phone, that earpiece, she would actually talk to you. She would know who you were. She would, and you'd tell her who you want to talk to, and she said, well, she's not home, she's gone. She would know everything about the community. It was amazing, yeah. So she gave quite a presentation about that, which kind of neat. Now, some kids think this is a car. Some kids think it's a wagon, so we'll have to get down to it's a carriage. How many can fit in here? We talk about who sits up there and how you can make this work. And how many people can sit inside? Sit inside, well, hey, only 2 or 3. And maybe a baby or 2. Well, you know, they had big families. 10, 11, 12 kids. What do? You stay home and work. You have chores to do. We talk about the chores the boys would have, the chores the girls would do, and how you make this go. Well, it's funny, so many kids think it's a car. A lot of kids think it's a car. We have to get down to, you know, a driver sits up there, and this happens to be a 2-horse carriage, and it came from Ann Arbor. And when it came to us, it was just a sight. And I don't know if you can see, but down here, we have a couple pictures that show this was just an awful, sad-looking thing. It was just falling apart. And they knew of somebody who lived up north who took care of carriages, and so he came down with this flatbed truck, and he took this all the way up north, and he had to take it apart, and he had to make parts because you couldn't buy parts anymore. So he made a lot of parts, put it all back together, painted it, and when it came back, it was in one of the first parades we had in Dexter quite a while ago. But what's really interesting, while he was taking this apart, he took all the lining apart on the inside, and inside he found this old flag. It has 36 stars. And we talk about, my goodness, why was that hidden in there? I don't know. So it's kind of a nice thing to think about. So that's the story of the carriage, and since it came back in that one first parade, it's been inside out of the weather. So we keep it as nice as we can. So that's the story. And then this, it would be so dusty because, you know, kids, there wasn't any blacktop anywhere. There wasn't any cement. It would be so dusty if you were sitting in that carriage that the ladies wore special things that they wore over their clothes to keep them clean. So that's why she's dressed the way she is. The boys will be so excited about this. What are these? Well, of course, they're guns. What kind of a gun? Oh, I don't know. It shoots bullets. I said, no. It shoots caps. It's called a cap gun. I remember my brother, oh my Lord, when he was growing up, he must have had who knows how many in his toy box. And, you know, the boys would all get out and play cops and robbers, and we talk about what did the caps look like and what happened. No bullets ever came out, but it made a really loud pop. Sometimes a little bit of smoke. And where would you get the caps? Well, my gosh, you'd get them at the grocery store. So anyway, that's what this is all about. And there are a couple of cap guns, and then we talk a little bit about toys. While they didn't have much time to play, they played board games in the evening maybe. They worked. Kids had to work, and they didn't have any time for free play. But they did have some of the games you still play. So like checkers, tiddlywinks, they don't know much about tiddlywinks, but they do know about checkers. So that's kind of fun. And then way down at the bottom, we talk about, these are of course roller skates, okay, and the kids don't know what these are anymore either. They don't look like what they play with. And then there's another relic over here. This is very old. This perhaps is 100 years old, and they don't know what this is. An ice skate. You do not have a building that has ice in it. You have to go on the pond when it's cold enough, and you have a lot of fun with the ice skate. Then we go to this toy cupboard, which is over here, and we have a lot of dolls that have been given to us. This is a very special collection, and they're from Belgium, which is close to Germany. And then other people, every time they would go someplace, they would bring back a doll. So we have dolls from Asia, we have dolls from Switzerland, we have some Native American stuff. We have quite a collection that people have just given to us. So girls are very excited about that. And the girls, you know, girls, you'd have a dollhouse, you'd have a doll, but you would not go to Toys R Us. It would not be an American Girl doll. It would be something maybe grandma made or your mom made it, and you'd have a dollhouse, but dad or grandpa would have made a dollhouse for you. They think these are American Girl dolls, but they're not. They're old, and I don't know where they came from. But they show jobs that girls would have to do to help mom and dad. Now, this girl, of course, is washing. Well, how would she do that? And where would she put the clothes to dry? They don't know about a clothesline. You know, so what would you do with the clothes after they got dry on the clothesline? Well, you'd have to iron them, and it would take all day because you had these big families. So the irons would not be electric. You would have to put them on the wood stove to get hot. You'd have to bring them over here, and you'd have to iron until it got cool, and you'd put one back on the stove and trade back and forth. And it would probably take all day to get that ironing done. Now they don't even know what an iron is. So this is the babysitter. We did not have a baby doll, so we gave her a little bear, and we talk a bit about how the sisters would have to take care of the babies and everything, and they would have to help mom cook because these are such big families. So these show jobs that they would have to do. And then we come around. This is a replica of a house that truly is down in Dexter on the corner of 5th and Broad. Let me see. Bruce Wagner used to live here, and his daughter, Candy Wagner, was in college, and she had this built just exactly like the house that's downtown. Now Dan O'Haver lives there, and he's done a lot of changes. But this is exactly how it used to be when she was growing up. And they ordered doll furniture from different catalogs, so it did not come with a dollhouse. And then we had a man by the name of Robert Linden who lived in Dexter, and he was a school photographer. He would go around to different schools once a year and take pictures of the kids. So he donated, his family donated his collection of cameras. So that's a very nice collection. This is a new cabinet. This is pretty neat. If they didn't have any electricity, kids, how would you be able to read after dark? Well, these are all lanterns that would have to have lamp oil in them. You'd have to take the chimney off. That comes off. You take that off. And there's a wick there. You have to light that, and it would give a nice glow. So you could read, or you could do whatever you wanted to do with that. But no electricity. Nothing that you would punch. But a very nice collection. We're lucky to have that one. These are different things from World War I, and the kids are always excited about this. And then I try to point out, women did not go into the military, but you would see some women with a cross like that, which would mean probably a nurse. It would be a medical alert, okay? And these are all World War I things. And these are all things that were donated to us, either from people that really served in World War II or family members. So this star has a special meaning for me because My grandma had 5 stars in her window because she had 5 sons that were in World War II. They all came back except for one who was killed in Pearl Harbor. So they all came back except that one. But I can see in my imagination, I can see that window with these 5 stars that were there. So this is special significance for me. And then we have the Civil War case. The Civil War happened when Abraham Lincoln was president. So, and the way they fought kids was so different, and I hate this picture, but it shows that it was hand-on-hand combat. So in this picture, every time they had a battle, they would go in, somebody would be going in and holding up the flag. Colonel Jeffords, which is his picture right here, framed in blue, he was actually in this battle of Gettysburg, and he saw the guy that was holding the flag about to drop it because he had been hit in the back with a knife. And he went to grab the flag, and as he did, he himself was bayoneted in the back. So we have the flag that he saved right up here on the left-hand side. And it is in a preservation room in Lansing. And the kids usually go, I think in 4th grade or 8th grade, I don't know. So I always say, talk to the lady up there and she will tell you about this flag. And it's in a preservation room where it will be preserved, will not fall apart. And his family was so proud of him for doing that, but they had to sell their farm to purchase this beautiful monument in his honor. And this monument is in the Dexter Cemetery. Not beside the school, it's the other one. And they do have cemetery tours in the spring or in the fall, and you can go down, they will show you that wonderful one. It's beautiful stone, but they had to sell their farm because they didn't have enough money. So I've never been on any of their tours, but I have, and they're very, very nice. So a few things in here from the Civil War, but the most important thing to the kids is the picture there, and that's how they would fight, and how he saved the flag, and how it's in a special room in Lansing. And there is a monument, they tell me, out east in his honor. So I've never been out there, but other people have been there, and they say, oh yeah, it tells you all about him. So special, very nice. This is a curling iron. And I remember my grandma had one of those, and she would wind it, she'd get it hot on the stove, and she'd wind her hand around it, and it would curl, not like it does now, but it was a curling iron. It was a little dish with a little hole, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how they saved her hair. That's
right
how
there.
She saved it, yeah, that little white thing. There's a hole in the middle. Everyone, of course, they all had their long hair, and when Grandma would brush her hair, she would wind all the hair that came out around her finger.
They used all of the, right here is completely made out of hair. Masonic temple.
Oh, really?
Yes. Where? I remember the Masonic temple. It was on Broad Street, right there. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yes, I remember going to that when I
You
first
do?
went there, just because they had something there, and they had movies.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a brick building, and we lived in town, so it was 1972 or something like that, and it was Masonic temple. It was right there.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they wore those little red hats, and it was pretty interesting. But this came from that, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that's the projector. Masonic temple.
Oh, really?
Yes. Where? I remember the Masonic temple. It was on Broad Street, right there. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yes, I remember going to that when I
You
first
do?
went there, just because they had something there, and they had movies.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a brick building, and we lived in town, so it was 1972 or something like that, and it was Masonic temple. It was right there.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they wore those little red hats, and it was pretty interesting. But this came from that, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that's the projector.
Welcome to the Dexter Area Museum. We're downstairs now in more or less the farm and early days of the 1930s and 1940s is what most of this is down this area here. In the corner here, we're standing down and we always give the kids their first test to see how good they can read. I don't know how long you've been around here or anything else, but we had the bridge that went across the Saginaw Mills in the background, and this truss bridge went across here. Well, in the early 1970s, it was determined that the bridge is not safe enough for school buses or anything heavy, and so they decided they had to tear it down and redo it. So in, I think it was about 72, that they demolished it, took it all apart. The only thing we salvaged out of it was the plate there across the bottom showing the date plate, showing when it was built in 1899. And the builder's plate, which is what had me build on it at this point here. We always tell the kids, some of the kids said, "Oh, I just live right there by that little store." And I'll end up telling them that if that was the case, you had to get up early because the bus couldn't cross the bridge due to being unsafe. So then you got on the bus there at the bridge, but you went all the way out to North Territorial, and then you went out to Dexter Pinckney, and then you came back in on the long run to see what was going on. So that's how that part worked out. The fire trucks, we had to park a fire truck by the little store out there because the fire trucks are too heavy with all the water on them. And so for that winter months, they were really worried, but they kept it running and kept in heaters and kept swapping trucks out so the water never froze in the back of the truck. We went along here. We had some famous people. Don't know, someplace I had this man's name I didn't know, but he used to go up and down the Huron River. And one of the hazards of being in a canoe is in the river is your paddle's always crapping, hit a stone on the bottom of the river here. So he said, there's got to be a way to stop it. So he built this machine as you see here, and he made these little caps that went over the end. And this protected and held the board together so he could get some more usage out of the canoe paddles, and they lasted a lot longer, and I had to throw them out maybe after one day. So we had here, and he built that. We had other gentlemen, people who've been here. There's a man who couldn't find the railroad cars he wanted to build for his model railroad, so he went into business and came out with an American Beauty line and sold these all over the area. Well, normally take kids down through this area here. Of course, I always get them catch at the point here. If you add a typewriter here, replace it, and they'll come up with a computer with no problem. Same for an adding machine, they come up with their calculator. So they're pretty good about figuring that all out. Normally they stumped on this one here. That is the mimeograph machine. If you were in schools in the 40s and the 50s, the teacher would print it up on I'm not sure what the material was made of. It was a long blue sheet of paper, and it punched the letters out. And then you took it down to the office and they helped you get it set up, and then you sit there and cranked out the mimeograph letters. We have the different displays in here of the shoes. We tell them how the cobbler is the one. You didn't just go down to Kmart and buy a pair of shoes or Walmart. You went to the cobbler and he had all these molds, and he found one that about fits your foot. And he could take it and make the casting, and then to go ahead and make you a pair of shoes. And as you told the kids, you normally had 2 pairs of shoes, one for Sunday in school and one for on the farm, because most of this place was a farm area. So they had along the bases through here. I always catch the girls when I tell you, if you were a fashion queen back in school at that time and you got up early, you had to allow yourself enough time to lace up your shoes, because it took a little long to either lace them up or to go ahead and button them up. Let's go through here. Are pretty much like town grandma and ma, they would make the dinner. And these are a lot of the tools and utensils that they would use. I never explained to them, your mom comes home from work now or something at 4:55, opens up the freezer, takes out a couple bags, throws them in a bag of boiling water, waits 7 minutes, takes it out, throws on a plate and says, there's dinner. Back in the old days, they would start making dinner around 1 in the afternoon. As soon as lunch was over, Mom and Grandma would start using it. And they had different tools to work with, and utensils, and the strainers, and everything else like they did back in the old farm days. Different kinds of toasters. They came in here. I can normally catch them on this when they come in to figure out how to. They weren't all pop-ups here, most of the early ones, and I remember these very vividly. These are the ones here. They just put the toast in, put it down, close it back up, and you figure some way. And I tell the kids, like my grandma taught me to make proper toast. I would put the bread in, close it up, sing happy birthday 3 times, open them up, turn the bread over, sing happy birthday 3 times, and the toast is perfect. So you had little ways that didn't have timers, but you sure had ways to figure out how to make it work right. 90% of the people in Dexter were either on a farm or owned one or the other. They worked on it or came by. And there were jobs you had to have. Before Mr. Edison developed electricity, we had ourselves some laundry had to be done. One of the early ones was you put some water in here, some soap, and a few clothes. You wouldn't get a whole lot, but you get some clothes in here. And you could turn around and it'd be their job to work this handle back and forth for about a half hour until the dirt was worked out of them. We then went to something that was a little bit larger, like that one and that one. They both were still done by hand. They both had a handle that you worked to get the little agitators you see up here on the top, like a milk stool. That would get the clothes and break out and get the dirt out of it and agitate it along. So we had them. One of the very first electric ones had a motor on the bottom, but the same type thing had an agitator in here to work with it. Some other got to start multitasking now. She could turn around and be doing the laundry, and while it's running here, she could be doing ironing or some other project she's doing around the house. You got dirty on the farm. That's the bathtub. And we would go through. Everybody would get their bath on Saturday night or wherever it happens to be. They would put them all in there, and you would get cleaned up and that, depending on how many kids. If you're towards the end and the kids in front of you were dirty, you might have to bathe in dirty water, because Dad can only make so much water over the furnace outside, over the fireplace outside. So he'd be working on that basis there. The girls learned at a young age to make clothes. You didn't go to Walmart and just go and buy a couple outfits. You went, and all the girls learned to sew. Normally they learn to sew making doll clothes first, so you get the hang of it and just how the system works, and get to use the hand-eye coordination for the thread and the needle. After they got going pretty good on that, Mother would turn them loose on making themselves a blouse or something else. The wife demonstrates the treadle machine here, where you use 2 hands. And this, of course, would move back and forth, and this would turn the spindle so the needle will up and down, and they could do their sewing. Made it a little bit easier. A lot of eye-hand coordination with this. Coming to the room that the kids love most of all, I think, Mr. Holtland, whose picture's on the wall there with his wife. He was our fire chief here in town for about 25 years, I think it was. He was born over in western part of Michigan, and he could look out his bedroom window and see the Chesapeake, Ohio roundhouse at Grand Rapids. So he wanted to put that on a layout. He always loved his trains. He lived out west and went out camping with Colorado and California and along this way here. So I put mountains on the end of the layout down this one here. And he kind of put a mock-up of Dexter in the center here. He went through here, and I normally tell the kids how the, normally ask how many came, how many rode a school bus to school this morning, and then how many walked, and how many had somebody drop them off. And I normally ended by saying how many took a train to school, and they kind of look at me, they're kind of, huh? And I said, yeah, in the old days, if Dad was busy on the farm that morning, maybe he had a cow delivering a calf, and he couldn't get away right away. But we had an interurban line that went parallel with the other tracks through Dexter here from Detroit to Jackson. I turned the street lights on in town, and then how all the houses are all lit up. And like I say, he was our fire chief here in town, so he put a building on fire back over here in this corner here. This represents the big fire we had in town in 1972. We almost burned out the west side of town over here on Grand Street. If you're familiar where that pile of plastics is, and I know what's in there now. Just off the Baker Road across from the Mug and Box, there's that little factory. It's about 3 times the size. They caught fire. And plastic burns so fierce. So we had all around here. Everybody around the neighborhood got up next morning to find pellets of plastic on their cars and their houses and everything else would have gone through the air and had landed on cars. Insurance companies had a field day in town here for a long time. So they work on that basis here. And then from there, then I take them over here to what we call our farm area. When we started with this together, we went to all the area farmers and asked them if they had any of the old farm equipment that you know, they donate for us to show the kids and that, or anybody else, what farm life was like back in, you know, early 1900s, or, you know, back in that area. We got a whole lot of it. There's some still in storage someplace in somebody's barn, if it's where it is. They've got a store because they can't put everything up. These are all given. The green, long green tray was built in Ypsilanti and sold across the country. The gentleman there made it. You can put your grain in there, oat, wheat, whatever he's going to do, get behind it and walk over an acre of land. It would take him a couple hours to put in an acre using that type of equipment there. The modern farmer with his new John Deere International or whatever he's using, hooks up in the cab, turns his radio on, turns the AC on, turns on the wheel, and away he goes. And he can do that acre in about 4 minutes. So it shows the progress they have with it. Normally I ask the kids, what significance does December 25th have? And after a couple of seconds, they, oh, that's Christmas. I said, okay, you got your Christmas list going. Yeah, I want this, I want this, I want that, I want blah, 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 blah. And I tell them, well, back in the old days, the kids on the farm normally got one toy, something like that, to play with. Most of their gifts are all clothes, because clothes are much more important on the farm than was having a bunch of toys to play with. Boy here in town, he said he wanted a barn. So he told his dad that's what he wanted for Christmas. So Dad, and Grandpa, and Uncle, and the brother all scrounged around the farm to find packing crates and everything else they could find. And they built him a barn. And that is the barn he got for Christmas back in the 1920s. But it turned out to be real good. It's all detailed inside. You can see a little hole in the front down there, a few little cows, and then he's got in the section to work on that basis. The girls normally got like doll houses and buggies and tables and chairs, something like that. And the fellows normally got the barn or a wagon or something along there. The job we had here was running the fanning mill. If Dad picked up the grain off the ground and brought it in, it would have some sticks and maybe a mouse or something else all caught in it. But by turning the fanning mill, it's got a big fan in it. It created the wind. The wind would turn around here and blow the grains into this lighter up into the feeder, and all the other stuff would hit the ground. I bring them to the corn sheller. I explain that everybody had a job. As soon as you could walk and talk, you had a job on the farm. One would be they have a drop a pile of corn by the sheller. You go out, take the husk off, take the corn, you put it into the sheller. There'd be a handle on this. But then you go ahead and you would turn around and show them how it takes it all off and how it works on this basis here. So it works so good. So you get the corn off the empty cup. They take the corn, tell them to take it to a grinder. They work the grinder and they grind that corn into powder, cornmeal. And then they can turn around and Ma can make cornbread or biscuits or pies, cakes, whatever she wants. So all the kids on the farm, they got a job to do and they do it. They have to learn to see what it is.
Hi, I hope you've enjoyed this tour of our Dexter Museum. And if you're looking at it on the web, please make sure that you come visit our museum. It's spectacular. And I'd like you to meet Phil Renke. He is our tour producer.
I hope you've enjoyed this tour, and I hope you've learned something about the history of the town of Dexter through it.